Order. We're getting pretty severe feedback in the room. If you can't hear that on television, that's what's going on. Let's call the meeting to order, and we'll start with prayer and pledge. If you will, please rise. Wendell Davis is going to lead us in prayer, and Mark's going to lead us in the pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for an opportunity to come and to take care of your business and be good stewards of what you entrusted us to. God, just be with each family that's represented here. Be with them down as they continue to do a good job of taking care of the town's farm. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wendell and Mark. Item number 3 on the agenda, citizens' comments. None at this time, is that right? Excellent. Number 4 is approval or correction of the minutes from January 18th meeting. I have reviewed those, and they seem to be in order. Anybody have any adjustments?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. For number 5, we have new business. It looks like a zoning variance request for Jeffrey French Mitchell.
The property is currently zoned C3 Restricted Commercial District and is approximately 0.25 acres in size. Outside storage is allowed in the C3 district when equipment and material used in the everyday operations of the principal use on site. However, everything must be stored behind the principal structure and must be screened with fencing and/or a buffer strip. No repair work is allowed outside. The applicant wishes to continue storing tires on the side of the building behind the fence. Section 7.080D of the zoning ordinance details the requirements for variances not involving special flood hazard areas, and they are detailed below. Standards for variances not involving special flood hazard areas. The board shall not grant a variance unless it makes findings based upon evidence presented as it follows. 1. The particular physical surroundings, shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from mere inconvenience. If the strict application of the ordinance were carried out, must be stated. Staff finds that the lot is located in the C3 district and is a narrow lot. The building is already placed on or potentially over the rear property line with no space for storage behind the principal structure unless allowed by CSX. There are materials stored behind the building currently, but it is a limited area. 2. Conditions upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property within the same district. Staff finds the lots in the C3 district generally have no allowed space for storage behind the buildings, so the petition is based on conditions that would be applicable to other property within the same district. 3. The variance will not authorize activities in a zone district other than those permitted by this ordinance. Outside storage is permitted in the C3 district. 4. Financial returns shall not be considered as a basis for granting a variance, and property owner has not identified financial returns as a reason for requesting the variance. 5. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date of this ordinance. The alleged difficulty or hardship was not created by the applicant. 6. That granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Staff finds that the variance requested will not provide the applicant with special privileges denied by the ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the C3 district. This is a potential issue for multiple properties in this district, but is the only situation we are aware of currently. 7. The variance is the minimum that will make possible reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Staff finds that the request may be needed to make the full use of the property. Without the request, outdoor storage would not be allowed without permission to utilize the CSX property. 8. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area in which the property is located. Staff finds that the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. 9. proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light, air, and to adjacent property, substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the area. And staff finds that the variance will not have any of the above effects, and 10 is not applicable in this case. Staff recommends the staff recommendation. The narrowness of the lot does create a hardship in complying with this requirement of the zoning ordinance. This is a potential issue for all lots in the C3 district. These lots are all narrow, which is why the front and rear building setbacks are 0 feet. If approved, staff would recommend the screening be required to be improved to completely hide any stored materials outside. That is it for this request.
Excellent, thank you, Mitch. Kevin, you got some pictures, Kevin?
Do a couple of shots. This is the building kind of to the right in that picture, and then you see the fence, kind of the gate area there. And that behind that area is where the outdoor storage is located. And then that's just the building where it would actually be there. But the main, I guess, this is the main shot that shows where the outdoor storage would be. And the map on your staff report kind of shows, again, it is kind of to the southeast side of the building is where the area is located at for the outdoor storage.
I got you. So, one question, Kevin, before we go to comments from the public. The last line in the recommendation there says staff would recommend screening be required to be improved to completely hide any stored materials. Is that an issue right now? Because it looks like on the pictures that
Yeah.
Mr. French provided and the ones you took, it looks like there is some fence, screening or something there now.
Well, there is fencing there already, yes. We had seen some pictures and some Google Earth images and whatnot where the tires were actually stacked higher than the fence.
Higher than the fence.
And that's, so
Okay.
if they've taken care of that by having not having that anymore, then that probably is okay.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking you were
Right.
gonna say is the height, but I just
Right.
wanted to make sure what
Yeah.
the intent of that sentence was.
Right,
before we
that
move
was my
forward.
intent because there was some tires stored taller than the fencing and the gate that's already there. And if that's been taken care of, then that probably it would not be necessarily.
Okay. All right. At this time, we're going to close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up a public hearing. So anyone that would like to speak for or against, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address. If you would like to speak for or against this item. No? Nothing? Okay. All right. No one coming. We'll close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm familiar with this establishment. I've been there a couple times, bought tires for my daughter's kids, my tires for my daughter's car. So let me give you a little bit of additional information that the rest of the board may not be aware of. Recently, the town council has charged the mayor and the zoning department with enforcing all of the ordinances that are already in place. There have been some ordinances in place related to tire storage outside. In this case, cars parking in grass and not on paved areas. Lots of different things that are on the books. They're already an ordinance. They're already something that has been approved by the council, but they just weren't fully being enforced consistently across the board. So we've charged them to do that more regularly. Without talking to Mr. French, I can already tell you that this is a result of us coming to visit him and telling him that these tires needed to get out of in front of his building. In this case, this building, pretty much the right-of-way goes almost right up to the front door of this building, and in the front and in the back, it goes almost right up to the back of the building. So the only spot he has for outside storage is to the side of the building. It's not unique to him. There are several, I've actually spoke to several business owners on Front Street since we started this that are on Lowry, that are having the same problem. So, all that being said, I wanted y'all to have the history of why this is just now coming up. Mr. French has been there for a while, several years. I don't know how many, but probably 7 to 10 maybe. 15? Wow. Yeah, okay. So, he's been there a while. But the intention of this is to get the stored tires out of sight, out of plain view when you're driving down Lowry Street, just to try to improve the aesthetics. So that being said, it looks like the solution that Mr. French is asking us for, and I guess, Kevin, what's the what's the variance here? Is generally under the ordinance, you're not allowed the outside storage, the fence? What are we?
No. Under the ordinance, you're allowed to have outside storage if it's for materials, equipment used in kind of the everyday operation of the business. So he's allowed to have things outside, but if the ordinance requires it to be behind the building, behind the principal structure. And so he can't do that.
So it's because there is no behind.
Right,
Okay.
there is no behind for him.
Gotcha. So it's essentially the allowance of storage materials to the side of the building and not behind.
Correct.
Yep.
Because he has nowhere to go
Okay.
behind the building.
All right. So comments, discussion?
How far out will the fence? I've got the Google Maps up, and it looks like a lot of stuff goes all the way out to the sidewalk. Is that an issue? And how high can?
That's been, that was an issue. That's been cleaned up. This will basically be, as you can see, can't really see too well in that picture, but the picture that Mr. French gave us, there's the building, kind of the front corner of the building. The fence kind of goes, it might be a little clearer on that back screen if you can see that. The fence goes basically kind of, it just extends from the front corner of the building to the side property line and then goes back and around.
So does it extend past the front of the building now?
No,
No.
I
So
mean, they
it's,
have gates.
it did used to. I knew
Yeah.
when it did, but it doesn't now, right?
No.
Okay. So I think that's what you're getting at, right? Yeah.
And will there be a restriction on the height of the fence?
That's,
I know you said it's,
so what's in the ordinance? There is some fencing. You can only have, what's the ordinance say?
Well, basically, if it goes above 6 feet, he's required to get a permit through codes to have it taller than 6 feet, but, which I think 6 feet is what he's got now. As long as he keeps it below the current fence height,
Yep.
that won't be an issue. It would only be if he decides he needs to go 3 or 4 feet taller or whatever, then he would have to, replace the existing fence and make it taller.
Okay.
So we would recommend.
So 6-foot fence, it's even with the building right now, and it looks like it has screening, so,
Right.
anything else?
Do we say anything about the 6-foot fence, or is that a code thing? We're just, the variance is.
We don't need to
allow-
include that.
We
in the
would need
motion.
to
The
include
variance is
that.
just allow the side.
Yeah.
Just, I mean,
storage.
he's already got a screen.
Yeah, we would
So
need it in the.
you wouldn't need to have
in a
that. It
motion,
would
no.
just be, just whether or not to allow to continue to have it outside on that side of the building versus behind the building.
Yeah. My personal opinion is that in this situation, enforcing the ordinance that's already there, we would drive some of these guys out of business if we didn't give them the opportunity to have an alternate option. There are several businesses in this, and that's not the intention of any ordinance. So, with the screening and staying under the 6-foot requirement of the ordinance, even with the building, I personally don't have an issue with the fence. I think the motion should include the screening for sure. And then we may or may want to include something about stacking tires above the fence or anything above the fence everything needs to be hid behind the fence, which I think was in the staff recommendation. Completely hide any stored material, so. Anything else? Art, quiet to Donnie.
Self-explanatory.
Okay. All right. If there's no more discussion, I'll entertain a motion. Who wants to take a stab?
I'll take a stab. I'll make a motion to approve the variance request to store all the equipment materials behind the fence completely, which would include keeping it below 6 foot, or the height of the fence, and also keeping a screening material to hide the materials that way also. And then the storage, I guess, is on the side of the building, so the variance is to store on the side of the building, so.
Correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion for that. And the hardship being that there's a 0 setback in the front and the rear, and therefore the side is really your only setback opportunities.
Jeff, we pretty much got it there.
Excellent.
Okay. We got a motion. We have a second?
We do, a second.
We've got 2 seconds. Excellent. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Variance is granted. Next item on the agenda is a special exception request for Cousins Maine Lobster. Mitch, I think you're up.
Yeah, this is a similar request to one that came through last year for Cousins Maine Lobster, same location. Staff, or the applicant has requested a temporary use permit to allow several food trucks at 1932 Elmville Road. Property is currently zone C2 in the commercial district and is approximately 2.87 acres in size. Property has a variety of uses present, and the property has access to Elmville Road. The applicant has stated they plan on utilizing the lot as is and not adding any more pavement. Section 7.060B and C of the zoning ordinance detail requirements for a special exception review. In addition, section 7.061.13 details specific requirements for this use, and they are detailed below. For temporary outdoor sales of food or retail merchandise, temporary outdoor sales are allowed by right provided the following conditions are met. 1, all merchandise is located so that all fire codes are met. 2, merchandise tents, carts, and trash shall be removed at the end of each day. No cart, trailer, or other vehicle capable of being operated or towed on a public roadway are utilized. And there are additional conditions for the specific use, and they are detailed below. 7.061.16 special conditions for temporary outdoor sales of food or retail merchandise. A, approval in writing of the owner of the subject property where the proposed use is to be located shall be included with the application. The owner may be the applicant as well. Approval of the proposed site location has been provided by the property owner. B, the site shall be improved to provide adequate parking as determined by the BZA and shall provide for an on-site turnaround area so that backing out onto the street will not be necessary. And adequate parking already exists at this site, so no additional parking will be required. Traffic control measures may be required by the BZA, but staff does not believe that these traffic control measures will be required. Tents will be permitted provided they are erected in conformance with all applicable codes. Applicant has not indicated that tents will be used, but if tents will be utilized, they must adhere to the above conditions. Any site must be located so that all parts of all structures and inventory on a site are not more than 500 feet from any operable fire hydrant. Proposed truck location is located within 500 feet from an operable fire hydrant. A site should not be approved for a period of more than 14 days at any one time and no more than 28 days for any 12-month period. The applicant has provided the following dates and times. Sunday, April 8th, 2018 from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. with several food trucks being present. G, adequate provisions shall be made for restroom facilities on site. In the event applicant utilizes the restroom facilities of another existing business or on site or adjacent to the site, the applicant must submit a written agreement. Applicant owns space at the site location, so this has been addressed. No permit violations are present at this property. Adequate provisions shall be made for solid waste management. There is an existing dumpster on site, and the applicant has not stated if they would utilize other forms of solid waste management. BZA requires that the additional standards to be met in order to assure compatibility of the proposed location with adjoining properties. Staff would not recommend any additional standards. Letter K is not applicable in this case, and staff would recommend approval based on previous requests and this current request from the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, I do have one question. I'm familiar, this is the same site as the last one, right?
Yes.
So in the letter that they've provided, they said there are several other dates. I know that the ordinance allows for up to 28 days in any 12-month period. Do we need to get those dates before this motion, or how will that
If they
process
want
work?
to, and you all want to consider other dates, certainly that we could do that. This is the only date that they had given us. I do know that they are going to be opening for business at that location inside the shopping center there soon. And so my understanding is they may not be doing the truck at this location anymore because they'll have the
actual
brick and
business,
mortar
yeah.
location. So
Is somebody keeping track of these dates at this site so that, because we just see the one thing that's in front of us. So is somebody like, we'll let them know, hey, you've run your 28, you gotta wait till next year or something like that?
well, I mean, when you all have approved it like last year, there were multiple dates approved. And
Right.
So, yeah, we are monitoring those.
Okay,
But it is based on the dates that you all approved.
okay. So if they ever exceed the 20, it sounds like as often as this is, they'll never exceed 28. But if they ever do, somebody will probably throw up the flag and say, hey, you maxed your code.
Mr.
max
Betts will tell you
out.
that,
it's not.
definitely we usually find out if
Yeah.
We usually get a phone call.
something like
from
that, but
somebody.
they've been good to work with us.
It doesn't sound like they're gonna run close to that
don't
number of
think
dates.
The only thing I would ask in your deliberations is that I'd like to see a maximum number.
Of trucks.
of
at the
trucks.
location, yeah.
Okay.
We're saying 4 to 5, and maybe 1 or 2 more, so, yeah.
But the ordinance says there's a max number of trucks.
Well, I'm just saying, because in your approval,
No,
whatever
the
number you'd
ordinance
like
does
to come
not
up
say
with,
that.
I'd like to have a maximum number so that there's a difference in 5 and 20.
So the
Probably
most
could
they'll
fit-
ever have is 7, let's say, based on the 4 to 5.
Well, that's
Well,
what
they
they're
list
saying.
four-
That's
wait.
correct. That's what they're saying. But honestly, I think the spirit of this, when we really initially thought about it, we didn't really anticipate one person coming and asking for multiple trucks. We thought it would be a commercial event, asking for a few for a lunch on a Friday afternoon for employees or specific truck owners coming. So basically, I think what Jeff's saying, we don't want to give carte blanche. They could have,
Sure.
take over Almoville
I
Road
think
with
five
food
is
trucks,
re-
right?
5 is reasonable. When you
Yeah.
walk up, you have a few choices.
Yeah.
I think 5 is reasonable.
And I'm gonna be honest, I would like to see dates. I know we don't have them now, but at least make sure that those dates are being communicated to the city in advance. Not, hey, tomorrow we're gonna do this, but
And
some
that's what,
period in
yeah, and they
advance.
have done that in the past.
Okay,
Last year they did, and you all did approve multiple
Yeah, I know we had
dates.
several 4 or 5 dates last year, but
And there's
the way
another
this is written, I
location.
didn't wanna just, carte blanche, that's what I'm
And
trying to
there's
avoid.
another business in town that's looking at having kind of a food truck event, and food truck multiple times, and they have indicated they're gonna be coming to you all with those dates,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of for the whole 2018 calendar.
Gotcha.
They haven't yet, but, and it would be, at least 1 or 2 of those would be where there would be multiple trucks, not just one truck.
Understand. All right, at this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up the floor, the public hearing for anybody that would like to speak for or against. Anyone? If you'd like to speak for or against this request?
Yeah, I'm Craig Betts. I'm Cousins Maine Lobster. I have the
Excellent.
dates if you'd like them.
Yeah, if you got them, that'd be great.
And there's only going to be 10 because, as Kevin mentioned, we will be opening up a brick and mortar. It won't make sense to have the truck out there when we have the restaurant. So
Okay.
we just wanted to get those dates approved up until
Yeah.
April 8th.
Okay.
So it's February 23rd and February 28th, March 9th, 14th, 22nd, 29th, 30th, April 5th, 6th, and then the 8th is the one that is the large event. All the dates that I mentioned previously would just most likely be just our truck. The 8th we'll have multiple
We'll have
trucks
okay,
there.
so there'll be your truck for the other 9 dates.
Correct,
And for the 8th in here, you'll have up to 5 trucks.
right.
Okay. For
Okay.
the big event.
When are you opening? We're hoping to open right after, so the April 8th is our second anniversary. We did the event last year, we're gonna do it, it's gonna be probably as good as the one last year, and then we're hoping to open our restaurant shortly after that. We didn't wanna open it before, we just wanted to because we wanted to get through our second anniversary event, and then we're hoping to open it afterwards. So we're shooting for mid to late April.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions, comments, concerns for
I do,
Mr. Allen?
Jeff, when we make the motion, do we want to approve those dates? I don't remember them.
You can just say the dates as presented by the
Because since
applicant.
those are presented there in the minutes.
We
now.
got it wrote down.
We've written them down.
Okay. We can just do it
Okay,
that way.
in that case, I'll close the the public hearing, reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for any further discussion or comments. It sounds like we've got the 10 dates. I think I wrote them down too, so we could probably just say the
And we've got
10
the,
dates of the
we've got
list
the
that's been
recording,
supplied,
too,
right?
so-
So,
Yeah, as
okay,
mentioned.
we'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to accept this temporary truck locations, the dates stated, a maximum trucks of 5, and I believe that's all.
Excellent. You got a good motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
And any opposed, none. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Mario Allen, 251 North Lowry Street.
Are these two the same?
I don't know, it's got the same name, two different addresses.
There are 2 different requests for different locations, so it's the same
Treat them separately.
applicant.
Same truck,
Yeah,
different locations.
different
two
locations.
spots.
Gotcha, okay.
So for this one, the applicant has requested a temporary use permit to allow a food truck at 251 North Lowry Street. Property is currently zoned C2, General Commercial District, and is approximately 1.60 acres in size. Property is currently being used as the gas station and car lot. The property has access to Lowry Street and Moore Avenue. And everything on this is going to be the same. As far as the last one's concerned, approval has been provided by the owner of the business that they can be there. And then I'll read off the dates that the applicant has provided. February 16th and 23rd, March 2nd, 9th, and 16th, April 6th, 13th, and 20th, May 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th, June 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, July 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, August 3rd, 10th, 17th, September 7th, 14th, 21st, October 5th, and 12th. And everything else is going to be the same as last one. Approval's all been provided, and they have maxed out their 28 days on this request, and staff will recommend approval of this request.
Excellent. Thank you, Mitch. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, this is the gas station there. It's at the corner, as Mitch said, the corner of Lowry and Moore Avenue, so. That's just kind of, that's the gas station area where they would be located at, so.
I was trying to find it in the request. It says that we did get a letter from the owner, property owner,
Yes,
and did they agree to use of the restrooms?
yes.
Okay,
And trash.
yeah. It said that in here, I just didn't see the restroom part. Okay, all right, at this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this request, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. It's up to you. It's completely optional. You don't-
I have a question for you.
Pretty straightforward. It's just,
Permission to use their
I mean, it's
facilities.
good.
Okay. Yeah, name and address, please.
Mario Allen. Address?
Yeah, your personal, yeah, your.
720 West Street.
Here in Smyrna?
It's in Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro, okay.
Apartment B, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 37130.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, the business owners, they're excited about it because they feel like they'll get a competitive advantage over some of the bigger chains just because they were thinking about it just building foot traffic, in anticipation. So it's pretty straightforward.
I maybe missed it, what type of food?
Yeah, I'm so just looking for.
It'll be catfish, some barbecue, pork.
Okay, excellent. Good- So good soul food.
Good.
Where will you be parking on this lot?
It's a good location. It's not. Actually, that's.
Let me go back to the last side, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's kind of near the front. He's got. It was a few parking spaces over there. He pointed out. He said it's kind of kind of lower below the sign. You can't really see the.
Yeah, so
So you
kind
can
of right
between-
in front of the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
And
walked
there's where
around
the
the.
old car wash area,
Yeah.
maybe. It's not a car wash.
Yeah,
car
you
wash.
can, and then
Okay.
the other location they have some space off to the right side of the building. It's not in the front of the other location, but it's off to the side.
Okay,
So yeah.
excellent. Any more questions for Mr. Allen? Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, we'll close the public hearing, reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion and a motion.
If no discussion, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve the requests and the dates, the 28 dates that are provided for the, I guess, the temporary outdoor sales of the food and merchandise. So I'll recommend approval.
all right, we have a motion, a second? Second? We got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 None opposed. Excellent. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is another request for Mr. Allen at a different location.
The applicant has requested a temporary use permit for the food truck at 300 Ian Springs Road East. Property is currently zoned C2, General Commercial District, and is approximately .48 acres in size. Property is currently used as a gas station, and property has access to Enon Springs and Joyner Drive. And same exact as last request. There's a couple updates in this at the time the packets were assembled. I didn't have an email from the owner yet. So since then, the applicant has provided me with the approval from the owner of the site for them to be at that location for the dates provided, as well as the bathroom use and the trash facilities. So for this one, the dates provided were February 17th and 24th, March 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, April 7th, 14th, and 21st, May 5th, 12th, 19th, June 2nd, 9th, and 16th, July 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, August 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, September 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd, and October 6th. Like I said, there's a couple updates, but everything's in line. All the approval's been granted for it, and staff would recommend approval as is.
Excellent. Thanks, sir.
And again, we just had the one shot on this one. This again is just down the road here on Eden Springs, the gas station there. So this is kind of shot looking at, kind of from the back of the property, looking toward Eden Springs. That kind of gives you an idea of where it's at.
Close to
And
my
I guess
house.
that's all I got.
Close to my house. Be able to come visit. All right, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals, open a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against this request. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and go back to open up the Board of Zoning Appeals again for discussion and a potential motion. Mr. Allen spoke briefly to this when he talked about the other one, so we kind of understand where it's going.
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept this request, the temporary use request, as presented and the dates and times listed.
Excellent motion. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Motion carries. Permits granted. Item number 6 on the request is on our agenda, staff comments or anything else?
Don't have anything else.
Nothing? All right, if that's the case, so motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion. And I will second that one, so we are adjourned.